Hello, happy Sunday morning 2023. And it's Yom Kippur Eve for those that are interested. If you're not sure what Yom Kippur is, I'll give you a brief outline after this message and we'll talk about what do you do on Yom Kippur? What does it mean to you, if anything? And why would we want to be interested in Yom Kippur? Well, let's talk about that after this message.
This is Deborah Cohen. I'm writing meaningful music with a message. Spirituality, pop rock music, interfaith music, and sync music for movie, TV, and film. Check out my music, the story behind the song, and share. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening. DeborahCohenMusic.com.
And I thank you for listening. If you're watching live Sunday mornings at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, that means that the chat room is open on twitch.tv/Deborah Cohen Music, and you can post comments and or questions related to the topic. Today's topic is about Yom Kippur, and we're going to start by just giving a brief outline of what Yom Kippur is, according to my Jewish learning. Yom Kippur is the day on which we are instructed to divorce ourselves as completely as humanly possible from the mundane world in which we live, in order to devote ourselves with all of our hearts and all of our minds to our relationship with the divine. So this session will be about ways to get closer to God. Whether or not you are a Jew, this is your opportunity to learn more about our Creator. Now, many Jews, they do fasting, which is most widespread. It's a widespread form of devotion. Other examples for Yom Kippur include refraining from washing, refraining from sexual relations, and refraining from wearing leather, a sign of luxury in earlier times. It is traditional to dress in white on this day, symbolizing personal purity. Because of this and the desire to avoid leather, many Jews wear sneakers or white athletic shoes on Yom Kippur. So far we've established that Yom Kippur, sometimes called the Day of Atonement, is an opportunity for us to detach from the physical, material world that we live in, which for some people is no easy task, and to get closer to God. So I'm going to come back after another brief message, and I will feature a book that gives suggestions about how to get closer to God.
See you soon. Keep pumping.
And again, this is Deborah Cohen, a story and a song that airs most Sunday mornings at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And yes, I am also offering band merch, which you just saw a little ad about that, on Amazon. So just go to Amazon.com, look for my artist profile, Deborah Cohen, and you'll see all of my music there and the merch. All right, so let's begin by talking about a new Hasidism. This is my latest buzz book. I love it. I just really want to finish it because it's just, I don't like to read very much, but when I get a hold of something that's really rich, I like to share it because maybe you're looking for a book like this as well. Or maybe you're looking for a way to get closer to God and you're not sure how to approach it. Well, there's two versions of this book, A New Hasidism. The first one is Roots. Let's see if I can get this in the camera. Roots. And the second one, which I haven't got yet, is Branches. So I'm starting with Roots. Excuse me. By the way, after 15 days of having COVID, I can actually talk. But if I do cough, I'm sorry. All right, let's talk about Hillel Zeitlin. He was the leading figure of philosophical neo-Hasidism among Eastern European Jews in the pre-Holocaust era. In many ways, his life's work, addressing a Hebrew and Yiddish reading public that had both a familiar and complicated relationship with its Hasidic past, was parallel to that of the German philosopher and scholar Martin Buber, whose writing on Hasidism presented the spiritual legacy of the Baal Shem Tov and his disciples to a Western audience. So we're going to take a look at some suggestions from Baal Shem Tov. And I'm going to go to my Kindle. Now there is something called Yavne, and it is a document that was published in 1924 by Zeitlin, and he was imagining being interviewed with himself. In this document that he recorded, he's describing the new society of Yavne as a renewed and more universalized version of the Baal Shem Tov's spiritual path. Now, if you're not sure who Baal Shem Tov was, he was an amazing healer, miracle worker, and just incredible rabbi that I encourage anybody to know more about. Now, in this document by Zeitlin, he says, now he's asking questions, but he's just talking to himself in this dialogue. What does Yavne want? The answer, Yavne wants to bring the old Hasidism, that of the Besht, and Besht is an acronym for Baal Shem Tov, wants to bring that old Hasidism back to life and establish it on foundations that are more acceptable in the present time of, quote, Messiah's footsteps, end quote. Question. Of what does this old Beshtian Hasidism consist? 3 loves. 1, the love of God. 2, the love of Israel. 3, the love of Torah. So we're talking about getting closer to the divine. During Yom Kippur, we have an opportunity to do exactly that. Question. How did the Besht understand the love of God? Until the Besht, even the purest love of God, and we speak here only of the love of God in its purest form, those who love God because he gives them health, length of days, glory, and wealth are not being considered here at all. It was conceived only like the love of a glorious king or great sage. Maybe in the best case, it was like the way one loves a father. But the Besht came and taught that one must love with a terrible thirst, a terrible burning, terrible suffering that fills the entire soul and body in such a way that no room for anything else remains. Does that describe your love for God? Question. Was the Besht the first to conceive of the love of God this way? Answer. Long before the Besht, there were those who saw the love of God as entailing suffering as long as the person remains in the body and does not have an actual outpouring of the soul. And the question then begs, who were they? And the answer are Eliezer Rokeah, are Yehuda Hechased. And in the time of the Besht, Haim ibn Attar. And how did such enlightened Jews as Baya ibn Paguda, Maimonides, and many others understand the love of God? They understood love as an act of the mind, of consciousness, of knowledge. And Eliezer Rokeah, Yehuda Hechesed, Chaim ibn Attar, and the Besht think that love is not an act of mind, consciousness, or knowledge? That's a question. And the answer is they respect these as well, but they demand that the love of the Most High take in the entire person. It is in the highest form of passion, the desire of all desires. It embraces all particular wills, all of a person's senses, the totality of passion, all one's lust for life, all thoughts, all words, and all deeds. And I hope that you're thinking about yourself in the description of what it is to love God. Even myself, I'm thinking, wow. Imagine being with people that actually are like this. Did they come to this all-consuming love just out of their own souls? Or were they somehow aided by the ancients? And the answer is, they saw this love in the words of the poet. Quote, "As the heart pants after streams of water, so does my heart pant for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God." End quote. And that should sound familiar if you are a student of the Bible. It is in Psalm 42, verses 2 and 3. "Who else do I have in heaven? I want none but you in the earth. My flesh and heart wear away, O rock of my heart. God is my portion forever." Psalm 73, verses 25 and 26. If Rokeah, Yehuda Hechesed, the Besht, and Ibn Attar saw this in the words of the poet, what did they add to it? Everyone knows these words of the poet, but they are taken as just that, poetry, meaning unique and special moments of divine inspiration. Along came the Rokeah, Yehuda, Ibn Attar, and the Besht, and they made it a requirement for every individual in every hour, in every moment, like the air we breathe. Some of you might be saying, well, now, isn't that kind of legalistic? No, it's not. And what did the Besht in particular add to this? For the Rokeah, Yehuda, and Ibn Attar, this all-consuming love was a positive commandment alongside all the others. But for the Besht, it is the foundation of everything. He never stops talking about it in all of his teachings, stories, and aphorisms. So if you're wondering who Baal Shem Tov is, I'm describing him in this text from this book, A New Hasidism. And as a side note, I'm certainly not comparing myself to the Besht, but I will say, if you do choose, which is a choice, to take on this desire to be 24/7 in the thought of Hashem or God, you will probably lose a few friends. Even in the synagogue, some people will get jealous. Some people will criticize your praise, your davening. And I've just went through this myself in a conservative synagogue where this person or a couple of people had to keep telling me that they had a relationship with God too, like out of the blue, when I was just praising and davening, and they had to come up to me and tell me that they have a relationship with God too. I'm like, where's this coming from? We weren't even talking about that. I'm minding my own business, davening, and these people are criticizing my davening. Well, guess what? It's not the first time it's happened. It also happened to the Baal Shem Tov. So all I can say is there's got to be more people in the synagogue circle that you can gather, may have a gathering of people committed to this belief system, so that you're not the Lone Ranger and you get picked apart and end up leaving the synagogue, which is what happened to me. And how did the Besht understand the love of Israel? Answer: he once said to someone, "Believe me," and this is a quote from the Baal Shem Tov, "believe me, I love the worst Jew in the world much more than you love your favorite child." This is what love of Israel meant to Besht. And then, of course, we want to know, what did the love of Torah mean to Baal Shem Tov? If you understand Torah only as sharp-minded, expert, deep learning, you can find love of Torah among other great sages and righteous folk, perhaps even more than in the Besht. But the Besht's love of Torah touches especially upon the light of Torah, the hidden light, attachment to God through the letters of the Torah, the worlds, souls, divinity that exist within every letter. Those letters combine to form words, and out of the joining of these Hebrew words are formed awesome unifications, bringing near the coming of the Messiah. The question is, why do you call all this a return to the original Hasidism of the Besht? Why don't you simply say to Hasidism? And the answer is, because today's Hasidism is very far from the pure Hasidism of the Besht. In what way has today's official Hasidism turned away from the pure Hasidism of the Besht? And the answer is simply in the fact that it no longer possesses that love of God, Israel, and Torah. What do you mean? Very simple. Today's Hasidism still talk about all these things, but they mix all sorts of incidental things in with them, fanciful interpretations, homilies, these are coming from rabbis, certain rabbis, intellectual games, until the real point is obscured. Second, and this is really the main thing for some of today's Hasidism, their Hasidism has become a purely external matter. They study without a real taste for it. They pray in the same way. They pursue wealth and glory no less, and sometimes even more than non-Hasidism. They're always busy praising their own rebbes and castigating all the others, along with their disciples. They've set up rebbes' courts and dynasties and get all involved in the politics of these. They spend a good part of their lives fighting about rabbis, ritual slaughterers, and other religious officials. They consider only themselves to be proper Jews and everyone else to be nothing at all. They make Hasidism consist entirely of external matters, outer dress, outer customs. They regularly mix fanaticism with piety. They chase away the young people over petty and foolish matters, and the older people like me, sometimes pushing them far from Jewish religious life with their very hands. And this has actually happened to me, so I know it's true. Are you claiming that today's Hasidism contain even less true and pure Judaism than the non-Hasidism? God forbid. I'm only speaking here about a portion of today's Hasidism, not about all. Certainly there are other sorts of Hasidism present today as well. Those who bear a deep inwardness, a deep attachment, a passionate love of God. They have love for all Jews, a love of truth, a longing for peace, a strong, clear understanding of all that is happening around them. And second, even the other Hasidism, those of outwardness and dress, still have lots of good qualities, things that belong to all Jews. Whatever failings a contemporary Hasid may have, he still bears a certain sense of shame, a fear of God, a brokenness, something of modesty, humility, a leaning toward loving kindness, goodness, and love. But all the inward Hasidism, those who concentrate on the externals, and just ordinary Jews today need a new light that will shine into their souls. A Hasidism of the future, rays of the Messiah's light. And the question is, as we're getting ready to close, does Yavne want to be that Hasidism of the future, that ray of Messiah's light? That Hasidism is not yet here. The rays of Messiah's light show themselves hardly at all, only to those most pure of sight. But Yavne wants to prepare for that future. Yavne seeks bit by bit to qualify individuals for it. It wants to create vessels to contain that light, which must come sooner or later. And I will end there, and hopefully your appetite is whet for more of these teachings from the book, A New Hasidism, edited by Arthur Green and Ariel Mayse. This Yom Kippur, my prayer for everyone, including me, is to have a divine encounter with the Holy One of Israel. He is there waiting for us all to tshuva, turn back to God. Let us commit this Yom Kippur to spend time in fasting if you're able and seeking God. This would be a great book if you can get it on Amazon, to spend time with God and seek out ways to walk more in a balanced life, spiritually as well as physically. And in the end here, I'd like to share my latest song, Linger Longer. The lyrics, I'm going to play these lyrics for you. I want you to be thinking about your relationship with God, even though the lyrics can also pertain to a relationship with a loved one where one of you have gone astray, or maybe even both. But the words, I really wrote them about straying away from God. So think about that when you listen to these lyrics. And I hope that you will share my music anywhere streaming music is found online. I thank you for listening, and I hope there was something in here that prompts you to want to seek a closer relationship with the God of Israel. Thank you for listening. This is Deborah Cohen.
My heart is longing for you, my love. When we were so close and near, I feel loneliness and all alone. Help me return to you, my dear. I tried in my mind to get back to you. Distractions had taken hold. felt such a strange desire, and then rapture took hold of me. Linger longer, felt my passion turn to fire. Pure.